In today's show, the Blazers lose to the Pelicans because that's what the Blazers do. But it's time for a little positivity, a little appreciation. During a season-ending stretch chock full of losses, what can we appreciate about this Blazers team? That's right, we're talking joy. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You are listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. In today's show, let's talk about a Blazers loss a little bit, and we're going to talk a lot about Blazers joy. The Portland Trailblazers lost 127-94 to the New Orleans Pelicans. This is what the Blazers do. They're 2-19 since the All-Star break. They've lost 9 in a row. They are on a journey to lose as much as possible. But instead of spending a bunch of time worrying about losses and the stuff that happens on the court, I want to appreciate this team and what this, even amidst a 2-19 stretch over their final 21 games, which is very likely to stretch to 2-21 to close the season in the final 23 games. 2-21. I want to talk positivity, but first, let's do what we do. Fastest recap in the West. Blazers lose 127-94. Only down 5 after the end of the first quarter. They actually led for most of that first quarter until the Pelicans kind of came alive in the final 4 minutes. Found themselves trailing by 12 at halftime, and Pelicans blew it open in the third quarter. Took a 24-point lead into the third, and Blazers, as they've done a bunch, cannot score in the fourth quarter. 18 points in the fourth quarter. They lose 127-94. That really is your fastest recap in the West. Drew Eubanks led the Blazers with 20 points and 5 boards. CJ Elleby had 17. Reggie Perry 15 off the bench, including 4 steals and 2 blocks. Shout out to my man Reggie. Didi Lozada 11 points, hit 3 threes, and no one else scored in double figures for the Blazers, but I will shout out a pretty fun game from Greg Brown. 4 points, 7 boards, 5 assists. Keon Johnson, 6 points, 8 assists. On the Pelicans side, CJ McCollum, you may remember him from being a former Portland Trailblazer, finished with 23 points, 7 assists to go with 4 boards and 3 steals. Billy Hernan-Gomez got 17 off the bench. When the game's out of hand, you get a backup center doing work. Larry Nance Jr., former Blazer, had 12. Jonas Valanciunas had 14, and Jackson Hayes finished with 11. Pelicans cruised. They cruised. At least this wasn't one of those Grand Theft Jose Alvarado games where we got 3 backcourt steals. He did get into a little jawing match with Reggie Perry, and they got offsetting tech, so that was pretty fun. But other than that, Blazers lose, do what they do, 9 in a row, 2-19 since the break. This is what they're after. The most noteworthy thing that came from this game was nothing that happened with the Blazers. There was a moment when Josh Hart addressed the team in the huddle, I think, that was captured by Bruce Ely, Blazers photographer, and shared on social media. I don't believe you could see it during the broadcast, but if you watch on League Pass with the League Pass that doesn't go to commercials, you could see it, but not like a real angle of it. That was notable. Josh Hart said, we need to play a little harder. I thought typically the Blazers during this stretch have played hard. They just haven't had enough talent. I thought there were moments in that second and third quarter, in the middle 2 quarters, where the Blazers, they were just playing like a team that knows this run is about to end. They just weren't sharp. Maybe not like low effort, but just sort of low attention to detail. And some moments where, a rebound bounces and hits the floor and nobody gets it, and Najee Marshall chases it down, and like little stuff like that, where it's like, you just when you're undermanned, especially, and if you're sort of respecting the game, they could have typically, just give a little more. I don't think they played as hard as they have. Typically, that hasn't been a problem, and that's probably why Josh Hart was giving them a little bit of the business. But the real takeaway from this game is that the Pelicans are almost certainly going to get 9th now because of this win. This win, coupled with a San Antonio Spurs loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves, which was happening at the same time of this game. Spurs lost by 4 in Minnesota. The Pels just have to win one of their final 2 games. They play Memphis on Saturday evening. Memphis has the 2 seed locked up. They've been really good. The end of the Memphis bench has been really good, but they're getting, as I'm recording this, they're getting walloped right now in Denver. They don't really have anything to play for. So Pelicans take care of business either Saturday against Memphis or Sunday against Golden State. The Warriors do have some seeding stuff that might come into play, so they might be trying, but Pelicans win one of their final 2 games. They're going to be in 9th place, which means they will host a play-in game against the San Antonio Spurs in New Orleans, and if they win that, they will advance to the loser of the 7-8 game with a chance to make the playoffs. If the Pelicans make the playoffs, the Blazers do not get the Pelicans draft pick. Instead, they will get a 2025 pick from the Bucks. It is way worse for the future of the Blazers if the Pelicans make the playoffs. We will talk a lot about the play-in next week. It's going to be super, super important, but that was the big takeaway from this game. Let's talk about joy. Let's talk about anything else in this basketball game. That's what we'll do in the second segment. But first, let me tell you about Built Bar. It's the best tasting protein bar that there is. Look, I got off my day job. I had to record a podcast. I had to wrap up the Blazer game and then bring it for the podcast where I was promising positivity. So you know what I did? I grabbed a Built Bar, in this case, peanut butter brownie. And I said, I'm going to need all 18 grams of protein in this. And I'm going to be happy that there's only 4 grams of sugar and just 4 net carbs. Would go with 140 calories. That's a pretty good deal. And that's basically what every single Built Bar is packing, right in that range. 17 to 18 grams of protein and 130 to 180 calories in every single one of those bars. No more than 4 grams of net carbs. That's a good deal. Pack a punch. Tastes great. Go get yourself some. Go to Built.com. Use the promo code LOCKED15. You get 15% off your next order. This promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. All right. So let's talk positivity. I have been pretty harsh on this tank, I'll be honest. This has worn me down because the Blazers have been so aggressive. And I've said it and I'll say it again. Props to Joe Cronin because he said, here's what we're going to do, and boy, are we going to frickin' do it. He was not going to, he was all in on them being as aggressive as they could be in terms of losing these games, right? Shutting down players that were maybe not like healthy, but ostensibly could have played through some injuries, as guys do all the time in the league. I've heard plenty of whispers that suggest these guys are healthy, even though I don't know necessarily. But putting guys on long-term injury, on shutting guys down with what seemingly minor injuries or injuries that came out of nowhere for long-term periods. Signing, basically committing to signing 10-day guys and running rookies and 10-day contract guys and saying, this is the team we're going to roll with. We're going to get a whole bunch of young guys and sort of fringe NBA guys, and we're going to lose a bunch because it's a talent league. And if we just reduce the amount of talent we have, that's the situation that we will roll through and roll with. Props to Joe Cronin for executing an aggressive plan, but I hate it. I hate that the games don't matter. I'm a numbers guy. I like looking at, the advanced stats and other little things, little like statistical tidbits that can help us learn more about the game. An interesting thing here, a trend here. The Blazers have made those things, the things I kind of like about basketball, just meaningless. The numbers don't matter. Since the break, they've been the worst offense and the worst defense in the league. And even when you see little stuff, the numbers don't really bear it out because they're getting walloped. They get smacked around a bunch. So I have been a little frustrated with the tank. I get it. I think it's a sound strategy. The Blazers are doing the right thing, but to me, it's a bummer because it doesn't make the NBA incentivizing teams to make the games unimportant is bad. But I want to recognize that there are some, if not positives, some opportunities that guys have been able to seize upon that otherwise wouldn't have happened. And I want to start with talking about Greg Brown III and Keon Johnson, because I think those two more than anyone have, not more than anyone, but those two certainly have, because shout out to my man Drew Eubanks, and we'll talk about it later in the show. Those guys have just straight up improved in front of our eyes, right? Like they just have. When Keon Johnson first suited up for the Blazers, he did not look like he was a capable NBA player. Now he's diming up. He's has 8 assists. He's making multiple threes. He's still making mistakes. You could still see some of the struggles and all those things. I don't think either Keon or Greg Brown are likely to be part of the rotation next year, and I think that's fine. They're young guys finding their way. Rookies and second-year guys, particularly guys who come into the league as young as they do, they take a little while to get some seasoning. That's kind of how developmental parts work. Is like you need some time to get there, because if you were more developed, you'd be drafted in a different position for sure. But Keon has taken massive steps. He maybe doesn't make the reads at the speed that you would want, but he's improved dramatically as a passer. He started, when he first was playing regular minutes for the Blazers, he couldn't hit anything from three. Now he's a relatively reliable three-point shooter, shooting over 37% from three for the season. Like, he's been, over the last 6 games, straight up hot from three. Shooting really well. He's having some nice nights. That's a huge skill and a huge sort of swing skill that will define much of his career. And if you had such a tiny little sample size and just like a little bit of Keon, he might not have ever gotten the reps, the confidence, the sort of the ability to take and make those shots with impunity, knowing that he's going to get a super long leash and just a whole bunch of leeway to go ahead and figure it out, man. And he didn't have a particularly good game against the Pelicans, but he's taken real strides. And if you've watched the games, and I know that maybe some of you are listening to the podcast, but not tuning into all the games, I believe it, and I still appreciate you. But like, he's taken real strides, and that opportunity doesn't come with this wild, aggressive tank job. Same with Greg Brown. Greg Brown was not an NBA player. He was a long way away, like super duper duper raw, and he still has his moments where he's there. But Greg Brown is like taking and making spot up threes. He's working the baseline as a cutter. He's just much more in tune with how he fits in on the offense. Those are the type of things that don't happen in bit parts. They don't happen. I don't believe that you need necessarily NBA seasoning to improve, to become an NBA player. Like, I think you can improve behind the scenes. Your skill level gets really high. You get thrown into the game. You can play. You can contribute. You're good. Like, I truly believe that. I don't think you necessarily need these minutes, but the minutes help. They help your reps. The reps help your feel. They help your confidence. They help you kind of figure out when the skill level maybe isn't as developed, how you're going to fit with your sort of lower skill level. And I have seen Greg Brown do that. He had a couple lob dunks today where, he's always been a guy who can fly and tries to dunk everything and puts together crazy highlights, but a better sense of when to cut, how to read Brandon Williams driving, how to read his defender so he makes sure he sneaks in uncontested, or at least for a chance that he will have before the defense is set. He wasn't always doing that. He was just trying to, grab the rim and do crazy dunks and committing goaltending violations. Like, he has improved, and you can see it. And it's not just, I know it's like, not, I'm said for both guys, 3-point shooting. It's the big skill for everyone in the league, but particularly sort of guys like them who are going to play some off the ball minutes. Keon is probably at his best is a point guard, right? Like, that's the best version of Keon as a point guard. But I think for the early part of his career, he's going to be an off ball type of guard. He's going to get minutes because of his defense and because of his shooting. That's how he'll get in there. And I think he's shown some, he's not always great on defense, but when the ball's right in front of him, we've seen some moments where he just locks in defensively and uses that athleticism and like a a give a heck level on defense that is really impressive. And I think Greg Brown has improved dramatically in a way from being like just not at all close to an NBA player to like having some nights where he's pretty darn good. Now, again, all of this is like grain of salt because the Blazers are getting walloped. They're getting rocked. They're getting beat by the worst teams in the league. They're finding ways to lose to Houston twice and OKC twice and all those things. But like, if you watch the games, you're watching these guys develop right in front of you. And some of this, like, sort of my frustrations with tanking, I'm trying to, at least in this moment, channel into saying, hey, for sure, Keon Johnson has improved. And for sure, Greg Brown III, has improved. Without a doubt. And I can appreciate that. And those aren't the only two gentlemen I can appreciate. I can also appreciate guys who have taken advantage of an opportunity and probably shown that they can belong in the league. And when this season started, were either not in the league or didn't know if they would belong. So let's talk a little about Drew Eubanks and Brandon Williams, guys who have absolutely seized this opportunity and probably have made themselves money and maybe saved or jump-started their careers with their production during the Blazers tankathon to end this season. Before we do that, though, I want to tell you about betonline.net, the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your sports action. They got more lines, more props, more odds on anything and everything. So if you want to bet on the final weekend of the NBA's regular season, go for it. You want to bet on the play-in games next week? Go for it. You want to bet on the playoffs? It'll all be there with lines, props, odds, live in-game betting, player props, team props, combo with multiple team props, all of that, plus every other sport you can imagine. So don't wait. Go take advantage today. Go to betonline.net. That's betonline, where the game starts. Still a pass first point guard. Still Mike Richmond. You are still listening to Locked On Blazers, and we're still preaching positivity amidst the 2-19 stretch for the Trailblazers. We talked about Greg Brown and Keon Johnson. Those dudes have just improved. I don't think they've taken the leap where you've found some gems, but I think these next guys might have. Brandon Williams looks like an NBA player. Brandon Williams did play in this game. He had missed the previous game with a quad contusion. He came off the bench and was reportedly on a minutes restriction in this game. And he comes back in and he has some flashes where you're like, oh yeah, that dude is probably an NBA player. And that is such a long way from where Brandon Williams came. When Brandon Williams showed up in Portland on that 10-day contract, I didn't know who he was. I'm not a big college basketball guy, so I didn't remember him in Arizona. I literally had never seen him play basketball until he played 4 minutes in his first Blazer stint. He appears in 2 games and a 10-day contract amidst a COVID outbreak, like just the worst possible time to make your NBA debut because you're a short timer. And he's gone just like that. And then the development of many, one of the real positive developments of the season is Trendon Watford's step forward to look like from a second round undrafted guy to getting converted from a 2-way contract to a guaranteed NBA contract and looking like a dude who's like a back end of the rotation, but like regular contributor on an NBA team. And on a really good team, who knows when Trendon plays, but like on a decent basketball team, Trendon will very likely be in the rotation because of his mix of feel on defense, ball handling, and playmaking skills. And he's got some athleticism to beast past little dudes and to use his quicks to get past bigs. Like he's intriguing. He gets an opportunity, and that opportunity creates an area for Brandon Williams, a lane for Brandon Williams to sign a 2-way contract, sign a multi-year 2-way contract, a chance, and basically a 2-way contract is just a chance to prove it. You're not getting paid NBA money. I mean, you're making $500,000. It is better than it certainly has been to be a 2-way player. I think the NBA has figured that out, where that job isn't like a $180,000 job if you're in the NBA and you're going to be on the roster for all 82 games. Like you need to be compensated at least somewhat similar to what the NBA minimum is. So like he's got a good gig. He's not making crazy NBA money, but he's making a bunch of money. And he's getting a chance to prove that he can take that jump, the jump that Trendon Watford did. And Brandon Williams looks like an NBA guard. Like he looks like a backup point guard. He's got a whole bunch of wiggle. It's hard if you don't put a lot of length on him, he's beaten guards who are in front of him. And he can pass. He can get to the cup and finish in a whole bunch of different ways. And while he hasn't been a great shooter, he's shown enough standstill 3-point shooting that it opens up the drive. And his ability to just create off the bounce and score will very likely get him a chance to play in the league for several seasons. This opportunity, opened up by Trendon Watford's development and then created by the Blazers sort of situation where they were going to skew young. Brandon Williams probably got himself a chance in the NBA with this opportunity. If the Blazers aren't tanking, this doesn't exist for Brandon Williams. Maybe he gets a 2-way contract, but he doesn't play like this. He doesn't get this opportunity. He doesn't have this production. He isn't the team's leading scorer after the All-Star break like he is now. I haven't checked the updated odds. Drew Eubanks was right on his heels and might have passed him. But like Brandon Williams is if Keon and Greg Brown weren't gems, Brandon Williams might be a gem. The Blazers might have really found something. Now on a team with Anthony Simons and Damian Lillard, it's not like Brandon Williams is gonna have a big minute role, but he can hoop. And if you need a backup point guard or an emergency point guard, he can play and score in this league, and he's shown that, and you wouldn't know that without this situation the Blazers are in. A true positive from the strange world of tanking land. And really, I think one of the things that I truly haven't said enough on this podcast is what a damn cool thing it is for Drew Eubanks to be as good as he is as a Blazer in his hometown. He didn't grow up here. He went to high school here. He grew up in Starkville, Mississippi, but he went to high school here. He's a product of Reynolds High School in Troutdale. He's the freaking Shack of Troutdale. He went to Oregon State. He went undrafted, and he was a 2-way guy who spent 3.5 seasons with the San Antonio Spurs, but was a 2-way guy and then signed an NBA deal, and then wasn't really playing. Was basically had lost his spot on a Spurs team that was also kind of going with developmental minutes. Now they've been a little more successful than the Blazers, but they also haven't had the injuries and sort of the aggressive pivot that the Blazers have had. But Drew Eubanks showed up here and he's played the best basketball of his life. He had 20 points tonight. He's had 14 consecutive games of 10 straight points. He's scoring in double figures. He's flirting with a double-double. Eubanks has been a righty hook monster. He made a lefty hook tonight. That's pretty special. Like he's got touch around the rim. He plays hard as hell. He will beef with you if you are physical with him. He'll be physical. Like tonight, he got overpowered a couple times by Jonas Valanciunas because Jonas Valanciunas is gigantic, and that's what Jonas does. But he stands right in there and is physical and takes contact. Drew Eubanks will be on an NBA roster next season because of his production with the Blazers. Will he be on the Blazers? It's funny. Fans of I've seen fans projecting the roster for next year, and almost everybody has Eubanks on the roster. It's like he's just been on 1,010 days. Like who knows if they commit to him or what it is. But if he's not in Portland, I believe Drew Eubanks will be on an NBA roster next year because so many teams need bigs now with the way there aren't many post-up bigs, but every team needs like one more body to guard Joel Embiid, one more body to guard Nikola Jokic, one more body to guard Karl Anthony Towns. Like everyone needs sort of an end of the bench center. It's true. And Drew Eubanks has proven he could be that. And he doesn't get that opportunity. He doesn't get that chance without this situation. And he's taken the most of it in his hometown. It's cool as hell. So I am legitimately really happy for Drew Eubanks. I don't think I've said that enough here. I'm legitimately happy. This is a really cool, fun story. It sucks that the Blazers get just waxed all the time, that he's won 2 games here or whatever it is. It kind of sucks that that's the situation it has to be, but Drew Eubanks has kept his NBA dreams alive here in Portland. And he's done it in his hometown. He's done it in front of, the people, his community they went to high school with his parents in the stands. It's cool as hell. That's really fun. So as negative as I've been about the tank, as kind of frustrated as I've been about it, and I have been, I think there are some bright spots. The development and the obvious improvements of Greg Brown and Keon Johnson and the chances to have and continue an NBA career for Brandon Williams are just undeniable positives amidst just a stretch of suck. Like this stinks and tanking stinks. It's not hard. Many of you are very good at it. It's stupid to root for your team to lose. The NBA needs to fix incentives where at the end of the year, Oklahoma City and Portland don't play multiple games where both fan bases are rooting for their team to lose. That's broken. But amidst all the brokenness, there's been some real positives. I also want to say this. This is the 1,000th episode of Locked On Blazers. I didn't do all of them. I've only been around for about 540 of them. The first 460, maybe a little bit less, were hosted by my friend Eric Gunderson. And then he passed the baton to me, and I've been doing this since late January, February of 2019. It is a joy to be able to do this. Every day on the mic, and you, dear listener, commit time to listening to me or watching me on YouTube. I truly appreciate it. We've done 1,000 of these things. And we're going to do 1,000 more. This is just the beginning. I didn't know this was the 1,000th episode. Here's full disclosure. I was going to share something. I was tweeting out the podcast from yesterday. We did a listener summit where 3 listeners, Scott, Rachel, and Ben, it's a really fun episode, joined the program. You should go listen to it. And I clicked on the link that I have to share it, and it said 999 episodes. And I said, so Fridays today, Friday, April 8th, is the 1,000th episode of Locked On Blazers. It's a cool little meaningless milestone. But amidst all of this, I wanted to make sure 1,000 was positive. The Blazers haven't given us a ton of joy, but joy is incredibly important to me. I'm ready to watch basketball that matters again. I'm ready to watch a team try to win basketball games. I am absolutely there. But the fact that the House of Blazers go 2-19, that y'all are still listening and commenting on YouTube and sending me emails at lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com and sharing my posts on Twitter, it means a lot. I appreciate you. Here's to 1,000 more episodes, or at least 560 more from me. Thanks for making the last 3 years fun. And thanks for being part of this growing community. It means so much to me. Guess what? The thing about doing another 540 or so episodes is we'll be back on Monday. The Blazers season ends Sunday night. They play Dallas, and then they play Utah in their final home game. They're going to honor Bill Schonley and do some fan appreciation stuff at Sunday's final home game, and that'll be that. So the next time I talk to you, the Blazers season will be done. We'll be moving into looking at the play-in. We'll be looking ahead to draft stuff. We'll be for real in off-season mode. So we will do a post-mortem on the Blazers season and all that. So thanks for rocking with me this season. Come back on Monday for a look back at the Blazers season and what happened this weekend and the final standings, and we'll talk about all that stuff. We'll keep rolling. More draft stuff, more interviews, more fun. Come back and join us. Tell your friends to do the same. Available wherever you get podcasts on all platforms. Just search Locked On Blazers. Will be right there waiting for you. Appreciate you listening. Talk to you soon.